Good afternoon. Happy Independence Day weekend to everyone. Welcome to Breaking Through the Noise. My name is Doug Goodwin. I am your weekly host on our webinar. Breaking Through the Noise is brought to you by Udemy. Udemy makes smart software to help engage employees, students, and your audience. So I just want to let everybody know for today's event, please put your questions, comments in the chat room. And I know there were several active duty and veterans that were going to be joining today's event. So please share us a little bit about your story. Would love to hear it. I know everybody would love to hear that, how the National Guard or other branches of the service helps you. So today our guest is Sergeant First Class Tony Horn of the U.S. Army National Guard. Tony started his career out just right out of high school in the Air Force, where he served for 8 years. And then after leaving the Air Force, he later rejoined the National Guard as a citizen soldier. He's here today to share with us how you can launch your career and gain skills that you're going to need to succeed in a modern workforce through the service in the Guard. Tony, welcome to Breaking Through the Noise.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate you having us today.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Especially this is exciting for me. I mean, this is such a tremendous weekend for our country as we celebrate our independence and our freedom. But as you know, freedom's not free. So we all have to do our best to keep building our skills and talent to make this the best country and continue to make it the best country in the world.
Absolutely, and I think I'm thankful to be a part of some who are doing just that, and so I'm just happy to be with you today.
That's awesome. So I'd like to hear a little bit about. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and what inspired you to enlist in the Air Force originally, and just tell us how you got there.
Well, I originally enlisted in the United States Air Force and right out of high school, and I felt like the military was for me at that time. I wasn't wanting to go to school, and I was actually raised by my grandparents. So my grandfather always told me when I graduated high school, it'd be time for me to leave. And so I joined the Air Force, left and went through basic training at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, and started my military career. I had 8 years of active duty Air Force, traveled the world, and was able to travel the world and go to several different countries where I met my wife. My wife is actually from the Philippines. And so I was there during the time that Mount Pinatubo erupted. And so I got out of the Air Force in January of 1994, and immediately went into the National Guard. So I had a 3-year stint in the National Guard, and then left the National Guard and went back to the Philippines as a missionary. Okay. So I came back here in 2010 and re-engaged with the National Guard, and currently work full-time for the National Guard as a National Guard recruiter. That's
excellent. So a little bit more about your Air Force career. So not only do you get skills, you just said you've been to the Philippines. That's pretty cool, and you got a wife out of it. That's a nice gig.
Yeah, it's a pretty good gig. You get an opportunity to travel and see different cultures and those types of things. And so I think that the military is what's made me the man that I am today. I mean, I've been through, like I say, several countries, experienced several cultures. And so, the diversity of the Guard or the military in itself gives you this wide open look at what the world really entails. And I think that it was one of the best moves that I've made with my life.
Fantastic. So I know I speak for everyone. We say we appreciate your dedication and your service. Now you left the Guard and then you went back. Tell us about that. What inspired you to do that?
Well, I left the National Guard and like I say, went to the mission field. And what caused me to come back actually was that my daughter was going to the University of Kentucky at the time. While we were overseas, I had paid cash for her education when she got here. Of course, the first thing she brought was student loan paperwork back. And so I told her, no, you're not going to do student loans. I'm going to show you how you can get your college paid for. And so I drove her to a National Guard recruiting office And while I was there, the gentleman said, well, what about you? Would you like to get back in? I thought I was too old because at that time I was 41. And he said, no. He said, since you've had so many years of service, then that in conjunction with your age, you have the ability to come back in. So I and my daughter joined on the same day. I did it for the education benefits for her, but came back in because I always tell people all the time, you don't miss the circus, but you miss the clowns, I guess. I love military people. I think that every person who has ever served in the military, even if they get out, they have a yearning to go back. I mean, it's something that literally changes your life. And I always wanted to come back, and then now have the opportunity to work daily with soldiers, and I'm thankful.
Well, that's fantastic. And I know in your role as a recruiter, you're actually helping people launch their life or launch their career. So that's just tremendous. So speaking of that, so in the Guard, what type of opportunities could a young person, or maybe somebody like you, maybe they're not just out of high school, maybe they've been working for a few years and maybe it's not going the way they planned, or just they want something else. I mean, what type of opportunities might they find in the National Guard?
Well, we've got over 100 different career paths that you can take in the National Guard. The great thing about the National Guard is that once you take what we call an Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, it gives us an indication of where you would be most successful. So the military tries to set you up for success. So the higher the score that you get on this, what we call an ASVAB, it opens up more doors for you. I personally think that when I came in, I went to a computer programming school. And so we have all kinds of different jobs that are available and offered in the National Guard. And the training is free. I mean, well, not really free, but you go to school and get paid to do it while you're gone. Some of them will result in certifications. And so you'll come back and be certified, and you can put your career path, you put your career on a path of success. So we have over 100 careers. Anything that you would see in a civilian sector, we have a military equivalent to it, whether it be a truck driver. Here in my local area, we have truck drivers, we have police officers, we have engineers, lawyers, everything that you could imagine in a civilian sector, we've got a military equivalent to it, and we call it a military occupational specialty.
So that would include even things like trades, like electricians, plumbers. Can they get that type of training there?
Yes, absolutely. We have plumbers, electricians, geospatial engineers, which are people who will basically go out and zone certain things. So about anything that you can have in a civilian sector, we have it in the military.
Yeah, I believe when we did our pre-call, you said in a battalion, it's the same skills you would find in any American city. Yes,
absolutely. Because you have to imagine that when we deploy as guardsmen, it's almost like you're taking a whole city and putting. So if we were to have some natural disasters that we deploy, it would be like you taking our city, for instance, here in Richmond, and taking that whole city to help someone. So there's going to be a different career path for every single person that is in that unit. So there are units that focus only on certain things, but the vast majority of them, the great thing about the National Guard is that we have people who bring their civilian intellect as well. So it's wonderful to be a part of what we refer to as citizen soldiers.
Well, that's interesting. So if you've got so many people from so many different disciplines, it seems to me like that. And networking is the key to anybody and any success. It just seems like that's a natural networking organism.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's a great networking opportunity for the leadership, and it also builds leadership skills that most employment sectors are looking for. I tell young people the greatest thing one of the greatest things about the National Guard is that it gives you an opportunity to put the term soldier on your resume. And coming from an employment background myself, one thing that I know that most employers are looking for, number one, they want someone who can integrate with a team. And so if you look at a soldier, that's exactly what they do. All walks of life, all nationalities, they are all different races and everything. They push us together like a melting pot, and we're able to go, succeed in that. They want somebody who's strong under pressure. Most of the time, if you think of a soldier, they're always strong under pressure. They want someone who's drug free. And you know as well as I do, there's no drugs in the military. So so when you put this term soldier on your resume, and it means a lot to that prospective employer.
Well, and
you're already did. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you talk about all the different backgrounds, ethnic, and just different parts of the country, even different parts of the world coming together, and you're literally in almost a beaker, learning how to work with other people. It's like you're your own test case, learning how to break down barriers and communication. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the most important skill.
Absolutely. And the truth of the matter, I tell young people this all the time. If you put a soldier or an airman or a prior service guy in the mix of a conglomerate of people, 9 times out of 10, that soldier will have the skills to put themselves at the top level, because they've already been put in this melting pot, or this compaction, if you will, and they already know how to work with other people. So, and most employers are looking for that. They're looking for someone who can come in and strengthen their team, and they'll do it by not only knowledge but work ethic.
That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about the actual pay. So somebody, when you're earning all your benefits for education, you're getting your training for whatever, if it's a tradesman job, or you're going to just use the education benefits to go to college. All of those things are available. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you'll have 2 types of pay, especially in the National Guard. We have a drill, what we call a drill, which will most of the time be 1 weekend a month. And if you're coming straight off with no education, let's say a high school student comes straight into the Guard, what they will receive is roughly about $200 a month, because we don't have a delayed enlistment program. We have a recruit sustainment program, which means the day that person enlists, they start drilling that month. So they'll begin to draw a paycheck. They'll get a uniform before they ever go to basic training. Okay. And so they'll come in and they'll draw about $200 a month for that 1 weekend a month. When they leave to go to basic training, most of them will be an E2, what we call a PV2, and they'll be drawing about $1,900 a month base pay. Of course, if you have a family, it's more than that, because you'll have other benefits that come along with it. But their base pay will be about $1,900 a month. For the space of training, you will come back with about $8,000 to $9,000 in your pocket, because you're not going to be spending anything there. They're going to feed you, they're going to clothe you, they're going to house you, and you just use your salary, just put it in the bank, because you're not going to be spending it.
That's outstanding. So not only you get college education or trade school education, plus you get skills, on-the-job skills that you're developing, you're actually getting paid to do it.
Yeah, you're getting paid to do it. So you take a young person who is going to go, for instance, to learn to be a welder or an electrician. Well, that young person is going to have to pay to go to school. With us, you'll come in and your payment will be your service to your country. And so you'll come in, we'll train you on those careers. And while you're being trained, we will pay you during that time as well.
Right. And so right now, if we went down to the local fast food restaurant and somebody's working behind the counter making, I don't know what they make, probably $9-10 an hour. If that's their life, coming to you would be a life-altering event.
It would be a life-altering event, and it would set them on the road to success. And it could be somebody who would want a career change. Yeah. I try to tell young people, if you're going to be a nurse, and you're going to college to be a nurse, come in the military, come in the Guard, and allow us to train you on maybe human resources. That way you broaden your portfolio when it comes to employment. So you might want to step eventually into a leadership role in that nursing department. We could be that avenue to come in and train you in human resources or any career field that might broaden your employment portfolio.
That's outstanding. So from a commitment perspective, when somebody comes in, what is their minimal commitment?
When a person comes in, their initial service will be for 8 years. Every single person, no matter what branch of service that they join, they will come in for 8 years. But it's broken down in several different ways. And I know that earlier I tried this and it's backwards. I can tell you it's backwards.
Actually, it shows up front from us.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, well, great. Okay. So you can see on the drilling status is you're actively serving. And IR means that you're on call. So let's just say that you wanted to come in for a three-year enlistment. Then you would do 5 years of on-call time, which means that during that time they would you would after the 3 years you would turn your gear in, you wouldn't drill, and you would just be on an on-call list in case something happened and they needed you to come back. And that would equal the 8 years. So you have a 4-year enlistment with a 4-year on call. You have a 6-year enlistment with a 2-year on call. One thing that I'd like to point out is that if you're going to get the Montgomery GI Bill and some of the education benefits, they want you to do a 6-year enlistment. Sure. And the reason they do that is it takes an average student 5 years to graduate college nowadays. And so they don't want to invest the Montgomery GI Bill for the 3-year enlistment, because what happens if you decide to get out, then the Guard has put money into you and then you're not graduating. And so in order to get the Montgomery GI Bill, you have to do a 6-year enlistment. But everybody does 8 years off the bat.
So even if you're going to like trade school where it might be a 2-year or 3-year commitment, you still need to do 6 years to get that.
No, not necessarily. I've had young people that come in and individuals that come in that are going to go to trade school that's only going to last 2 years. You can come in for a 3-year enlistment, and we will still pay 100% of your trade school, up to $20,000. So
yeah, that's amazing.
The trade school is up to $20,000. The college and universities are up to $60,000.
So you could conceivably come out of high school, or just step out of your job that you're doing in 2 years, get an electricians or a plumber. These guys are making 80 to 100 grand these days. I mean, literally in 2 years, and get paid the entire time.
Right, and get paid the entire time. Absolutely. And they'll pay for your trade school as well. They'll turn around and pay for your trade school as well during those 2 years. Because any enlistment, whether you join for the 3 years or the 6 years, any enlistment through the Kentucky National Guard, you get 100% of your tuition paid. We call that state tuition assistance. Well, so you qualify for state tuition assistance no matter what enlistment option you take, whether it be the 3 years or the 6 years.
Gotcha. So I'm 54. It's off the board for me, right?
Yeah, it's off the board for you right now.
Okay. So what ages do you have to be?
Right now, you can join between the ages of 17 with the parents' permission. You can be a high school junior at age of 17, all the way up to age 35 if it's your first time coming in. So 17 to 35. Now, with a high school junior, we do what they call a split training option. We're one of the only branches services that do that. Is that they can join as a high school junior with their parents' permission. During the summer between their junior and senior year, they'll go to basic training and then come back and go back to school for their senior year, and then won't go to their job training until the following summer. So in that scenario, that young person has already completed 2 years of military service before they ever graduate high school.
That would be a pretty savvy young individual, but man, that's quite a step. Wow, did not know that.
We have that happen quite often, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
One of the things that I tell young people, ask them, are you going to be the valedictorian? And And most of them will say, "Oh, I don't think so." And I always tell them, "Well, listen, want me to tell you how to put yourself head and shoulders above your peers is join the military, and you already have 2 years of work experience before you ever graduate high school."
Wow, that's impressive. That's a great tidbit to learn. So let's talk a little bit. We have such a large immigrant population here in the United States. Can immigrants actually, can they join the military and join the Guard?
Immigrants can join the Guard and can join the military. They have to have a current I-551 card, which we refer to as a green card. And so if they have a current resident status that is a permanent resident, which is a green card, they have the ability to come in and join any branch of military. The second benefit to them is this: if they have already started their naturalization through the Immigration Service or the INS, then all they have to do when they go to basic training is let their instructors there know that their immigration is in process, and that immigration status of that person will be expedited, and usually they will have the ability to swear in their citizenship of the United States the day that they graduate basic training. So for me, I know the immigration process because my wife is actually from the Philippines. Right. So what would take about 3 to 4 years, and for some people 7 years to get that citizenship, it will be expedited into 10 weeks.
So you talk about earning your right to be called an American. That's a beautiful thing right there.
Absolutely. And I tell you, when I went to basic training, my daughter, there were some people who swore in to their citizenship on the day that they graduated. And it was something that really moved me, because I see these young people and these immigrants willing to make a huge commitment to our nation. And I think that it speaks volumes.
Oh, it truly does. So what would keep somebody, let's be candid. If you're between 18 and 35 and you're struggling right now, it sounds to me like there's really no excuses. What would keep somebody from saying, "Hey, I want to do this," and they just can't, they just can't get accepted?
Most of the time, most people, if I told you today, if I told you as a young person, or even a person wanting to put their career path on the path to success, if I told you, "Hey, I'm going to pay your college, I'll pay your trade school, next week just start drilling," and that's it. That's all it is. You're 1 week in a month. Most people would do that. The big dividing factor is when they realize that they have to go through basic military training, which is 10 weeks of challenging yourself physically and also emotionally as well. Most people are so concerned about the basic training end of it that sometimes it makes them reluctant. But the truth of the matter is they don't know what basic training is put there for. And so once you understand a little bit of what basic training is, it gives you an eye opener to, it gives you an eye opener to maybe make that next step. A lot of people think of it when they see movies, military movies. They see these drill sergeants. It is nothing like that. Something like that.
So Tony, we're getting just a little bit of buffering. I'll turn my camera off. That usually helps. Okay, let's go ahead and give it another shot. We buffered there just for a second.
Okay.
So you were saying, yeah, they learn in the movie. So what you're saying is Officer and a Gentleman was just a bunch of bunk?
Well, I would say back in the day, there was, I went through my original basic training date was in the 80s, so there was some, but, we've come a long way in the military. People try to say it's the kinder, nicer. It's not necessarily that either. I think that people will be challenged physically. I think that you'll be challenged emotionally because you'll be separated. But the real reason that they don't come is because they don't understand the necessity of the basic training. Because you're putting people in a melting pot and you're allowing them to be people that you can trust in 10 weeks. So imagine yourself taking someone who you don't know and then in 10 weeks, making that person and molding that person into someone that you would trust with your life.
Right.
So
yeah.
when you look at it like that, the first 2 or 3 weeks are always the roughest,
Sure.
because you're adjusting. I always say that the first 3 weeks is the worst part. After that, it's all downhill. It's pretty much, you're doing what you need to do, and it helps.
Excellent. I know I'm sure that when people graduate on that day that they do the graduation ceremony, that feeling of accomplishment has to be just unbelievable.
Absolutely. There's no other feeling like it. And you have to realize that that less than 1% of our population ever complete basic training. So you're actually truly one of the 1%ers when you graduate basic. So it gives you a sense of pride, and it also gives you a sense of camaraderie that you'll never that you'll never forget. And I think that we might have people here today who have prior service. Most of them, when you talk to them, they look back and see fond memories in basic training, not necessarily the hardships of it.
Right.
How that basic training molded them for success.
Absolutely. Yeah. They remember the successes. They don't remember the pain getting there.
That's right.
That's normal.
That's right.
So I know we're getting close to the bottom of the hour. So a couple other things I want to touch on. So as a recruiter, I mean, we've been in a unprecedented pandemic situation. How has it changed the way you go about doing your job and trying to reach out to young people?
Early when the pandemic started happening, we were doing most of our appointments virtually through Zoom or through FaceTime or some kind of social media avenue. Now, early in the pandemic, the National Guard and the United States Navy were the only two branches that were actually processing anybody through the military processing station. So we continue to work right through the pandemic. There has been some safeguards that have been put up. We are doing quite a bit of cleaning, wearing masks and those types of things. Our military processing station, what we used to be able to go up and watch someone swear in, we don't have that ability to do that anymore for right now. We hope that loosens up eventually. So, but it changed the way that we approach. We did more social media avenues. Of course, we started having specialists come in talking to us about our Facebook posts and Twitter and Instagram and those types of things. So about like with any other a career path or any other corporation that's going on now, we too had to adjust what we call adjust fire and do more social media outreach during that time.
Outstanding. So if there's anybody who's either live today or seeing this, we'll post this to YouTube later. If they're seeing this and they want to explore opportunities or possibilities, what do they need to do?
The first thing that they would need to do is contact a local recruiter. Most of the time, you can just Google National Guard recruiter, and it will come up with someone who is close by you. My suggestion is to also do your research before you go and call the recruiter. Do your research, and then that way you know the benefits. Some of the benefits that we currently have in the National Guard, we pay 100% of your college tuition up to $60,000. Those who have already maybe been going to college, are already in college, and maybe some student loans, we also will pay your student loans up to $50,000. And we currently have the Montgomery GI Bill, which is about $392 a month while you're in college. If you go into a primary slot, about $350 a month if you score above a 50 on the ASVAB. We also have some enlistment bonuses for some careers that are going right now. Truck drivers, police officers, and other. I think there's 10 other careers that we're given a $20,000 enlistment bonus on.
Wow!
And so I would just say, just contact your local recruiter, and hopefully, I know that they will steer you the right way. One thing with National Guard recruiters is that most of us will live in the area that we recruit in. So we can meet you right at near your home or even at your home If you're a parent, if you're a young person, I say let your parents be there. They'll ask questions that you won't ask. So just reach out to a recruiter somewhere, and they will guide you.
Well, that was outstanding, Tony. We really appreciate that you came in today. I know this is we're knocking up against Independence Day weekend. I think it's a tremendous celebration of freedom. And I just love the fact that you're out there helping people not only be free, but actually find personal freedom through skills and service in the Guard. So thank you very much for your service.
Well, we really appreciate the community. We go out in the community quite often, and oftentimes people will thank us for our service. We really appreciate the support that we have, especially in our local community here. Most of the area that we are here are pro-military, and every time that they, we have opportunities all the time of people talking to us, but rarely do we get to thank the public for what they do and what they mean to us. And we appreciate the support that you're giving here on your webinar and across the state. We appreciate the support that we get from our neighbors.
Well, we were happy to have you on. I'd love to have you back sometime. This was tremendous information. There was a couple of things in there I didn't know, and I thought, I'm sure the folks listening didn't know. So I think there's lots of opportunities. So at some point, I'd love to have you come back.
I would love to come back.
Awesome. Tony, have a great weekend, and be safe and have fun, and just get a little, hopefully get some R&R in. And thank you so much again for coming on the show.
I appreciate, Doug. Just one thing.
Yeah.
As we approach this 4th of July weekend, remember that we live in the greatest nation. I feel known to man. I've traveled all over the world, and we live in the greatest nation in the United States. And so, never take that for granted, and know that there are men and women across the right now across the world in which we live in that is eager to fight for your freedom. And let's try to remember those folks who are away from their families this holiday season, and we thank them for their service. And I'm thankful to be an opportunity. I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve alongside of those who are willing to sacrifice for our nation, and we appreciate them.
And as we all do too. So thank you so very much. So Tony, we'll bid you farewell, and have a great weekend. And like I said, we'll have you back soon.
Great. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Take care. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.